Hi guys, welcome back. We are going to go over your worksheet that we handed out in class, so hopefully you brought that home with you. And we're going to try to understand some of the more difficult ratios that we've been given. So when they have a ratio, what we're used to doing, what they started out giving us problems for, was when you have a ratio like 7 to 5, and then they give you information about what the total is or what one of those are, and then you can go ahead and draw visual units like here. 7 units and then 5 units for the boys. That would help us understand what that ratio is. But the reason we're going over this again is because they changed this ratio. They changed the ratio and they said in a school the ratio of number of girls to the number of boys is 7 and 5. So 7 girls and 5 boys. In the same school, the ratio of the number of boys to the number of teachers is 15 to 1. So the difference here is up here they told us that the boys were going to be 5 in the ratio, whereas the girls are 7. But then they told us again the number of boys is 15 to the teacher ratio of 1. So we need to figure out, what do these two numbers that are both talking about the ratio of boys, both of these numbers are. They just changed it to, now it's not 5 anymore, it's 15. And then, as we do with all of our story problems, we figure out what information did they give us and what do they want us to figure out. So here's some more of the information they gave us. There are 210 girls in the school. So we know that this ratio of 7 girls is equal to 210 total. Then how many boys and teachers are there? So if we were following what we've already learned, it says if there's 210 girls in the school and they broke that up into a ratio of 7, here is what we know. Here is our 7 units for girls and our 5 units for boys given our original ratio. And now they're saying, okay, can you look at this, girls? The total is 210. So what they did is they said, okay, we are going to find something that this 5 that the boys have, 5 units, and they changed it to 15. What did they do to make that divide into 15 pieces instead of 5? So here we have our bolded lines, which show it still could be these 5 boxes, but they divided them into 3 different parts per 5 box. Or 5 units, we could call it. So there is our 5 units, and it broke it up into 3 each, which would equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is our ratio up here that they changed it to. So essentially what they did is they said, okay, we're going to take our ratio of 7 and 5 boys, and we are going to times it by 3 to make this new ratio. So they took 5 and they timesed it by 3 to equal 15. So they've showed us that right here, and then just like in fractions, whatever we do to the bottom we have to do to the top. And so in ratios, since they're just a fraction essentially side by side, whatever we do to this side we must do to this side. So down here we took our 5 units times 3 and it equaled 15. They've showed you that here. 5 times 3 equals 15. Now we have to do it to the other side. 7 times 3 equals 21. So essentially we just took our new ratio here, and it's the same ratio of 7 to 5. We just cut it into more pieces. You can see by our bolded lines here that it's still in 7 units like the original ratio. But we divided them into 3 pieces for each of those 7 units, which 3 times 7 units would equal 21, which is what they have down here. So we just made our original ratio of 7 and 5. We made it into more pieces for 21 and 15, but it's an equal ratio. So the girls are 21. Right here we took our 7 times it by 3 to equal 21. Our boys would be 15 because we took our 5 times it by 3, which is what we times over here as well, and made it 15. And it says right up here that boys would be 15 and teachers would be 1. So we know our teachers are 1. So there is a total of 21 units now, instead of just the original 7 and 5 units, where if you added those together that would be 12 units. But since we made them into more pieces, we now have 20. This would go into 21 units of the 210. Do you remember they said girls were 210? So there's 21 units and out of the total 210 girls that we had right here. So 1 unit, 210, divided by 21 would equal 10 units. 1 unit, 200 is equal to 210 divided by 21, which equals 10. 15 units is 15 times 10, because remember, 1 unit is equal to 10. And so we would go 15 units, which is how many our teachers were in all of our teacher ratios here, is equal to 150. So we took 15 units and we times it by 10, which is how much 1 unit was. It equals 150. So there are 150 boys and 10 teachers. Essentially, we just took our ratio here and times it by 10. 15 times 10 is 150. 1 times 10 is 10. So that is our answer. So I would like you guys to turn your worksheet page now that we've gone through that together. And this is the worksheet you should have done in class with your partner. This worksheet you were supposed to work through, but some of us didn't come up with the right answers. So I want to walk through this together, and then you can do at home the 3 questions on the back, A, B, and C. So let's walk through this a little quicker, hopefully, than the last one. I am going to go ahead and have you pause the video and try to work through this yourself. I gave you the answer at the end of the class hoping that you could come up with that on your own. So if you could do that and make sure it comes out to the right answer, and then we'll walk through it together and make sure that we filled in all of these blanks, because we don't necessarily just want the answer, we want to know how we got there. So when we have the next problem, we know the process to get the answer. So go ahead and pause your video, and then when you are done with this, we will go through the process. Go ahead and pause that, and we'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back, and hopefully you came up with the correct answer. If not, let's walk through this and figure out where you may have made a mistake. So the ratio of the number of hair clips to the number of ribbons is 5 to 2. So I'm just going to write HC for hair clips and R for ribbons. And then the ratio of the number of ribbons to the number of headbands is 4 to 5. So again, it's now giving us another ratio for one of our items up here, which is our ribbons. We have, we have 2 ribbons, and one of them is 5, and then it changed to 4. So 5 and 4 are numbers that we are going to look to and say, what do they have in common that we can fix? So we're going to write it here again. This is going to be our ribbons. This is going to be our headbands, not hair clips. So HB instead of HC. So here's our units that it wrote down, which is what we always want to do whenever we do a story problem. We say, what information does it give us? How can we visualize that? And then what is it asking us for? So the rest of our information that it gives us, if there are 40 hair clips, how many ribbons and headbands are there? So here is our hair clips, and remember up here it was HC, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, and 2 for our ribbons was our original ratio, 2 ribbons. And our next ratio said now we have 4 ribbons, so it did 1, 2, 3, 4 ribbons for our next ratio, and 5 headbands. So that's way down here because we actually didn't have headbands in our original ratio, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 headbands. Now it says if there are 40 hair clips, so let's look over here at our hair clips. There was 5. Here is our bolded lines that show there's still 5. We just divided them each into 2 parts, each of those 5 into 2 parts, which would then give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the total number that all of these units should equal would be 40. So what is it asking us? How many ribbons and headbands are there? So it's asking us ribbons and headbands, but it gave us the information for hair clips, and from that information we should be able to find our ribbons and headbands. So let's go ahead and figure out between 5 and 4, what did they do to make this into 40? And we need to do the same thing then to make these into whatever answer we're going to come out with. So first of all, they said, okay, let's make these divided into 2, which would come out by 10. So I already kind of wrote that down here. Here's our original ratio, 5 hair clips to 2 ribbons. And what did they do down here when they said ribbons again in our other ratio? Now it's 4. Well, we do know that if we started out with 2 and our next ratio is 4, I'm going to erase this just so you can walk through it with me, then they times by 2. So remember, just like with fractions, whatever I do to this side, I need to do to this side. So we times that by 2 as well. So 5 times 2 would equal 10, which is the ratio that they gave us here. There are 10 units from our 5. So hair clips, ribbons, and headbands, we can now write the ratio in 4. We're going to write our headbands, which was right here, and that gave us 5. Then we're going to write our ribbons, and that gave us 4. And now we're going to write our headbands, which gives, oh, I'm sorry, I wrote 5 for hair clips. I'm getting my hair clips and headbands mixed up. Sorry about that. So our hair clips was right up here, and we said that was 10 right here. Then our ribbons we said was 4, and then our headbands we said was 5, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we're going to do is just like on our paper back here, we're going to say, okay, if I had 21, 15, and 1, I can say here's my 210 units, and I made this into 21 units, so I just go ahead and divide that to find out how much 1 unit would be. So let's go ahead and do that. We have our units for our, since all they want to know is our ribbons and our headbands, we'll go ahead and say if we have the information for our hair clips, we have 40 is the total, and so just like back here, 21 was our total, and the total amount was 210, so our total units is 10 for our hair clips, and the total number that would be, not the total units, the total number that would equal would be 40. So now I go 10 into 40, would go ahead and down here, just like on our paper over here, it said 1 unit would be equal to 210 divided by 21. So over here, 1 unit would be equal to 10 divided into 40, which would equal 4. So just like we did back here, then we will also take 15 units and divide that by what our total was, or I mean times it, excuse me, 15 times 10. So back here, then we're going to go here and say, okay, then my next units that I would like to figure out are my ribbons. So if 1 unit is equal to 4, just like back here 1 unit was equal to 10, we will go ahead and times our next unit by that number. So since our number this time was 4, we will go ahead and times this unit. So we're timesing this unit, our next unit, which would be